How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I bring you some footage of myself and Roland Martin having a little bit of a debate outside the White House. This was during the Young Black Leadership Summit, which was a fantastic event put on by Turning Point USA. Now, to give you a little bit of background into what's going on, who this is, I'll try to explain briefly before we get to the video. Now, Roland Martin is a liberal television pundit. He had a show at one point called TVONE News Now. It was like a CNN, MSNBC type show. He would bring guests on. He would have panelists, the whole nine. I did a reaction video to this ad from Procter & Gamble in which they were talking about the talk that black parents supposedly had with their children, which was about white police and white people somehow being a danger to you, being a hindrance in your life, this, that, and the third. My main point in my reaction video was that I did not have this talk. My talk was always about keeping your head on the swivel, being aware of your immediate surroundings, not about white people and police. And most people I know that come from my same kind of environment, low income areas, had that same type of talk. It was never about white people and police. That was the least of our concerns.
Was the talk ever had with you? Did your parents ever talk about this with you, or did you just go through life wonderful, and it was just a bag of chocolates?
Well, life wasn't always perfect, but I never had this talk. And nobody I ever grew up with in my neighborhood, low income black areas my whole life. I never heard this from anybody that I knew, and not from my parents either. I didn't.
So he disagreed with me. He had me on the show to discuss it. It was kind of a train wreck, but I will place that in the description box below if you want to check it out. So when I saw him outside the White House, I'm like, okay, I need to go up to him and talk about this. So that is the context of what you're going to see. He was in the middle of talking about a Republican guy not wanting to come on the show because he says that Republicans can't reach out to black people. They always have a hard time doing it. A guy didn't want to come on the show that's conservative, so he was using that as some kind of example. And I said, hey, maybe their representatives or their individual does not want to go on your show because they know they're going to get a bunch of silly questions and it's going to be kind of, embarrassing for them, like what he tried to do to me. And then he tried to play this whole game about who are you and this, that, and the third. So I explained who I was and how I know him. So that is the context. You're going to see the ensuing conversation. After we get done with the video, I'll explain to you more of what was happening here. And then I'll talk about others that debated him. And then I'll talk about the true reason why he was there to begin with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
A significant number of people who have the talk. And the talk is not like, okay, we're going to have a formal deal. No, the talk is literally what our parents have told us any number of times.
Like what?
Like when?
Give me an example. Give me an example of what you're talking about.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. About this whole thing. About you got to worry about white people.
Right.
I never got the talk. I never got it. The talk is when your parents come to you and say that white people and police are going to be a danger to you. You never had that talk? Hey, my man right here never had talk either.
I had that talk. So you two haven't had the talk.
I haven't had the talk.
I haven't had the talk. I'm trying to figure out what talk is.
Bro, you being black is about race.
You got one guy so far. You got one guy. Try harder.
Anybody else black had the talk from your family?
You got two guys.
We had the talk. Hold on, brother. We had the talk. We had the talk. I'm just saying.
You got 1, 2, 3 versus how many?
No, actually,
4 or 5.
No, actually.
No, I got the talk. You're talking.
That's 5. That's 5.
So that's 4. 4 versus 4.
How many? Actually, 5
hold on. How many got the talk?
Talk to Tim Scott.
Yes.
And when you talk to him.
No, hold on. I don't have a talk to Tim Scott. Not only have I talked to Tim Scott, I had Tim Scott came on my show, and Tim Scott said, we should have a long discussion about education.
So when you had to talk, was it more of a compliance, like be respectful of the police, not fear them?
My whole thing was just
Exactly. That's what my talk.
It was this whole thing about white people. I never had that.
It was like respect the position.
Yeah, I'm never raised to be on this racist thing.
Exactly.
It was never that.
Same.
And how was that conversation?
It was a great conversation because we talked about education policy.
Most of the people ask you that they haven't seen your show.
I know.
But he pointed out he's fair.
So why is it crazy?
No.
You're not answering that question.
Because it's significant. First of all, I want to say, no.
Why is it crazy? Why is it crazy?
Because the reality is, most of us have had the talk.
But so what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make it crazy for us not to.
And the reason why that's important.
No. Why is it crazy?
Brother, it's crazy because you look at Terrence Crutcher. Okay, what's the talk? The talk is that, look, when the cops roll up on you, how you act, how you respond. Look at Terrence Crutcher. That brother had his hands up and was walking like this.
The talk was about a racial thing. But my whole thing was just white in general.
Let me mention something. In Baltimore, where I'm from, most of those police officers are black. Most police officers, it's not always white folks.
Oh, no, and I've said that on the show.
It's about respecting authority.
Because here's the piece.
It's about
respecting authority. For instance, I'll give you an example. A brother who was in Connecticut. The cop told him, he said, get on your knees. The video was stunning. Go look it up.
In the hallway.
No, outside. This is the brother. This is him going down.
Right.
Okay. This is the cop. Kicks him
Oh,
in
yeah.
the head.
Oh, yeah.
No, hold on. Knocks the brother out cold. Goes to trial. He's acquitted.
Oh, well, how do you balance that with the Michael Brown?
Right.
So is it about
the Obama administration?
Is it about police? Is it about police? White police.
What I've said, not just here, I've said on television, that it's not just a question of white cop versus black cop, right? It's also a question of blue. So, for instance, badge and a gun, brother. There's a brother right now in Chicago, okay? This is one of the most thuggish cops. He's black. Mm-hmm. They've had 30 cases that they've had to actually get rid of because he was involved in those 30 cases. It's not, the question is not, everything is not always white, black. Right. It's also blue. So for instance,
and how they treat black males
perfect
in America,
example.
how they treat black males in America.
The black cop who was killed in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. When the last time you known of a cop who got killed and they ain't arrested the person who did it?
Roland,
if you know who it is, then you're not going to be able to arrest him. If you don't know what it is, you're not going to be able to arrest him.
No. I guarantee
so
do
they have the suspect?
It was one of the cops who did it.
Okay.
You know why? Because that brother was testifying with the following week to the grand jury. Because, bro, you ain't never...
This guy. Straight
you ain't never known the cop.
I mean, killed. But what happened, though? Who did it?
One of the cops did.
You should. All his shows are on that. No, he's good. I just wish you would give Trump a fair shake.
Here's the deal, though.
I wish you would
give him a fair shake, man.
Don't lie.
Give him a fair shake.
Some also don't lie. And no. Doc,
Obama.
Doc. Do you know how many lies? I'm talking about like 3,000-4,000.
Like your doctor.
You can name a lot.
Okay, so you see what's going on there. You see what's happening now. You kind of understand how I feel. This guy does not answer any questions, and it was pretty clear. I asked him a very simple question. What makes it crazy? Because if you didn't quite catch it, the central point that I was making is I did not have this quote-unquote talk that black parents have with their children about white people and police, and he was trying to say, oh, it's crazy. He never really answered the question why. Well, he did answer it, but his answer was basically because it's uncommon, because it's normal. But it's like, that doesn't make it crazy just because I never had that talk. My talk was always about acting right and doing the right things for myself. If I'm doing right, if I got my head on the swivel, if I understand what's happening around me, then that should be enough. It ain't this whole thing about being a victim to white people, which is what that ad from Procter & Gamble was trying to push. So he just wasn't really trying to address the problem. See, a lot of these guys that are like Roland Martin, these talking heads on television, Van Jones, another one, they won't answer any direct questions at all, especially if the answer to the question is going to hurt their argument. They'll try to deflect and divert onto different things. That's how you operate. So it becomes difficult to talk to a person like that, and it's almost like a waste of time. At a certain point, I'm there, and it was just like beat my head up against the wall. I'm not really getting anywhere. I'm not getting any kind of progress. So I eventually left, but I think I made my point pretty clear to those that were watching that it's not crazy. You've never had this talk. People are different. Not everybody's the same as you. Just because you have different types of upbringing and parenting does not mean anything other than we're just different. And it's kind of weird how black folks like Roland Martin, like others who would agree with Roland Martin, will say, we're not a monolith. We're not all the same as that and the third. But then when you do a thing that's different that they disagree with, all of a sudden you got to be a monolith. You got to be the same. It's really weird. Either we're a monolith or we're not. But for now, I digress. Shout out to my man Leo Dunson, Uber guy, Joe Patrick, and everybody else that was in the White House who was debating Roland Martin. If you want to see the full video of that, I'll place that in the description box. But in the particular video, I talked from my man Leo, who was at the time doing most of the talking. He also did not answer any questions. Roland Martin, that is. Leo Dunson asked him a very simple question that he was repeating over and over without any kind of answer. Roland would just deflect, answer a question with a question, talk about other things and all this and that. The question was, why should black folks continue to vote for the Democratic Party? It was a very simple question. I thought that was very good. Here you have a Democratic operative whose whole job is to keep blacks voting right where they are with the Democrats, but he can't even explain one reason why we should vote. It's not even like, okay, give me a million reasons. If you give me, one less than a million, you fail. Nah, just say something that would point towards a good reason for blacks to vote Democrat. You know what? I won't even be surprised if Roland Martin votes Republican or abstains from voting in his own private time, because he knows what's really going on. If he really believed in voting Democrat, then he'd be able to answer the question very quickly because he will believe it in his heart. If you ask me, why vote Republican, I'm going to say low taxes, against abortion, border protection. I would just say basic things like that right away off the top of my head. He could not name one reason after being questioned over and over and over and over again. However, he had a lot to say about other things. So that's that. At the end of the day, what I saw from Roland Martin is pretty much what I expected. A guy that will pretty much not answer any questions, avoid things, and is a person that is trying to talk in circles to benefit himself and to make his particular side of the aisle look good. Although to those that are really quote unquote woke, he didn't do their job. Now, to close it on out, the real reason why he was there is to try and intercept Candace Owens and or Charlie Kirk, because he knows that these are the biggest people there. They're very popular. And since he does not have his show anymore on TVONE News Now, and he is relegated to doing YouTube and, Tom Jones in the Morning Show, it ain't nothing wrong with that. YouTube is a great platform. So is the Tom Jones in the Morning Show. However, he wants to keep his name out there and regain his popularity to what it was before he lost his show. So he wants to try and attack an up-and-coming conservative. And it's also probably a hit job. He wants to go out there and attack her to make her look bad so her popularity decreases, because I think we all recognize that Candace Owens is a huge star and is going to be a very attractive person for people to link themselves to get out of the Democratic plantation. A guy like Roland Martin does not want that, maybe because it's going to impact his job, or because he has marching orders from a higher power that says, you know what, we can't have these black folks getting all uppity. You need to put her down ASAP. So that could be what that is. However, he did not anticipate running into all of the interference. All my guys that were there that were protecting Candace away from this individual. So, Roland, I know you wanted to get in there. Your press pass got denied the first time. You found a way in the back door, but all you fought was just us, who in reality made you look bad. To your liberal people, you look good because they like you regardless. They don't like us. But to us, to those of us that are kind of on the fence, you look bad. So that is pretty much all I got to say. What say you? Do you think that Roland Martin accomplished his goal of trying to divide, trying to embarrass? He did not get to Candace, but did he do well regardless? Or do you think that those of us that were there were able to effectively run interference and not allow him to just say whatever he wants to say without being checked? It's one thing that I would say I was really proud of my guys for stepping up to the plate and being honest, because some people that were there had to talk and some didn't. It was funny how he decided to ignore that, but that's a different story. I'm proud of all my guys that were there for just being honest and not just taking one side and showing the reality of diversity within the black community. But that's pretty much all I got. So whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.